Welcome to Arnie's Class Podcast. I'm Arnie Aniel. I'm an HR development consultant, an international public speaker, a workshop facilitator, a coach, and an educator. Life is a great opportunity, and we all learn life lessons every day. This podcast is all about those lessons. Lessons like gratitude, confidence, happiness, mindset, and a lot more. Learning without action is information. Learning with action is transformation. Join me, learn, and transform yourself into a better you. Life mates, how much do you know your body? Have you even experienced to really see each part of your body? Have you ever thought of at least standing in front of the mirror naked and see each part of you? The parts of our body send us messages every minute of the day. Do you even take some time to listen to those messages? Sometimes our mind says yes, and the rest of the body or some parts of the body says no. And sometimes our mind says no, and all the parts of the body or some parts of the body says yes. If we don't check what is yes and what is no with our body, we miss the messages that allow us to experience a more meaningful life. And if we experience a more meaningful life, I believe we can live and operate with greater harmony, greater peace, and less fear. Let's experience a full body yes. And in this episode, I have a very special guest who's going to share her knowledge and experiences that we, you and I, can have that full body yes. Listen and learn. Once again, another episode of learning. My life mates, my special guest for today is someone very special from Malaysia. She had spiritual awakening at the age of 19, and her first step was to learn meditation with Deepak Chopra in 2003 in San Diego. She is a yoga and breath work teacher, a priestess and a womb practitioner, a tarot and astrology analyst, past lives and Akashic records reader, imagine that, and an Egyptian shadow and alchemy student, and currently, just like me, training to be a sexuality coach and consultant. Currently, her focus is on upgrading women by ditching taboos, encouraging spiritual authenticity, and at the same time, reviving sexual sovereignty. So please welcome my very special guest, Varin Gill. Hi, Varin.
Hi, Arnie. Thank you so much for that introduction.
And thank you so much for saying yes to my invitation.
You're most welcome. It's really my pleasure to be able to talk to someone who's like-minded. It was so much fun talking to you just now.
Yes, I enjoy that. So for this podcast, let's talk about full body yes.
That's right. That's our topic today.
Varin, can you explain what does full body yes? What is it? What does it mean?
All right. So in my journey, right, just a little two seconds of my background. My background is in finance. I had a very standard, very controlled upbringing, and I had to become a professional. That was what my upbringing was. So my whole body felt stiff my whole life. And my education was in accounting. I eventually became a finance director. I was working in corporates. And I always felt a stiffness in my body. I had a really big problem during my marriage, which was vaginismus. I just couldn't be penetrated.
Oh.
And me and my ex-husband, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing sex coaching now as well. Me and my ex-husband tried so many things. I was living in the UK at the time, and we discovered psychosexual counseling. And when I went for that therapy, I felt so much shift in my body. I felt different things, like the stiffness that I had started to fade. It wasn't completely fading away, but I began to feel new sensations in myself that I didn't even realize I had. Maybe I had been brought up with a lot of shame around sex, a lot of guilt around sex, that I had this viewpoint of sex being a distraction, from your actual life, it being something that will get in the way. So make sure you manage it instead of surrendering to it. And then me and my ex-husband, we got divorced because I think our issues were just way, way beyond retribution at the time. But it opened me up to this journey of discovering my body, discovering that my body was able to communicate so much more than just it, to eat and to live. It was a vessel of pleasure, right? This vessel of so much pleasure. I didn't realize the meaning of pleasure until I started to, the word is touch myself, not just masturbate. Masturbation I've been doing since I was very, very young, but touching my body, actually communicating with touch throughout my body, my face, my scalp, my ears, like the whole body was not connected to any partner that I had, because I realized it's like the concept of having a body was purely to serve the need to have children. This is how a woman is brought up. She's brought up to believe that her first purpose is to have a child. So the whole element of pleasure is taken out of that context.
100%, Varin. I totally agree with you. They always think that you have to bear a child.
Yes, exactly. So, and then the way you do that as well, it's like a duty, it's a responsibility, it's a sense of self. And the moment you start to put all of these things into someone's head, your body starts to react as a corporate, I call it a corporate structure because
I like that.
Responsibility and all that boring shit that comes into it takes over. It's only until you start to have fun with your body. You know how we spoke about just now that it's important for you when you're dating to have sex. It's important for you to really be able to connect with someone's body, to be able to feel how your body reacts to their body. And then if there really is a connection or not.
Correct.
Like in my sexual journeys, I have met, like really with my ex-husband, my body was rejecting him. It really was rejecting him.
Total rejection, Varin?
Yeah, it was okay sex. I mean, it was okay, like with masturbation and all of that. But I realized that with him, he was also very controlling. We were from a similar culture, that my body felt controlled under him. It's like my ability to go crazy with sex.
To be messy and loud.
Exactly, all of that good stuff. So I realized my body was not actually in yes mode. It was in I'm not sure or no mode. And I learned about what my body was feeling with every partner that I've had since. There's some sexual activity that I've had with partners purely for that orgasm. But there's some sexual activity that I've had with partners where I really want my body to become a vessel of love, of pleasure through that experience. For me, an orgasm doesn't mean full pleasure. For a woman, my body, the idea of pleasure is when I can just like completely surrender and not think about how I look, not become a spectator, the whole concept of spectatoring.
Yes.
Not become a spectator, not judge myself, forget about shame and guilt, go crazy. That is the element that I'm after when I look at a connection with someone, and someone who has absolutely no moment where he goes, is it over? Is it done? He can ask questions, but not in a manner where he's judging me. Like you can tell the sexual communication that takes place between two people when they have sex, when it opens into the concepts of asking someone if they are okay, or asking someone from a point of view that this is not quite right. There's a very different energy that takes place. And I discovered as well, because I'm also a healer, right? I have done all energy healing. I'm a yoga teacher.
A lot, actually.
Yes.
When I saw your bio, I said, "Oh wow, this woman! I can't wait for this day."
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry to cut you.
my,
Yes.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I just, on that note, my ex-husband was also very spiritual, but that spirituality was marred in control. In
Mm.
controlling a woman's sexual behavior. I don't call it ancient. I call it not yet evolved, because what has happened is that culture has evolved to keep women in check and balance for whatever reason, right? We don't have to get into that in this conversation. But in the process of learning spirituality, I discovered this thing called the divine feminine.
Oh,
And the divine feminine is the goddess energy that used to exist before all religion came into being. When I say all religion, I'm talking about the main religions: Christianity, Islam. This is 3,000 years ago. The main religion or the main culture was the worship of the goddess. If you go to many temples, now churches, in Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, they actually have churches. They have found, when they scrub in the caves and they remove elements of modern Christianity, they found goddess drawings all over those walls.
wow.
Yes. So goddess worship was centered around the body, pleasing the body. And it's centered around sexual alchemy, which is using sex to build deeper relationships with your partner
I love that.
through energy transfer. Yeah. So there's the Indian side to this as well, the Tantra. If you've heard of Tantra, that's the
Yes,
Indian
yes.
sexual alchemy.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is also Tantra, very similar, but it has actually developed by itself in the West. It
Interesting.
is really, really powerful stuff. And a lot of this wisdom is coming back. In the last 10 years, it's made a huge comeback. So if you Google divine feminine, you'll find a lot of information on how sexual alchemy is helping women to wake up the nuances of their body. When they connect to a man, when their whole body opens up, what they're there to do with a man is surrender. Surrender. Now, surrender doesn't mean you're not active when it comes to
Yeah.
sex. You're surrendering to the energy of the activity that's taking place. So, a man and a woman in alchemy, in sexual alchemy, a man has a cis man and cis woman, right? They
Yes.
have a man has a penis and a woman has a vulva, vagina. So the male, his action for his ultimate moment of pleasure is to give the thrust, the movement of thrust. And for a woman, her ultimate moment of pleasure is in receiving. She has to be totally passive to get that orgasm inside her vagina. And there's so many different levels of orgasm that's available to a woman in her vagina, not just a G spot orgasm.
Yeah.
There's a P spot orgasm, there's A spot orgasms, there's breastgasms. There's just so many things that a woman's body is capable of when she surrenders to that energy. But that surrender only takes place when she can trust who her partner is. And for her to trust who her partner is, she first has to heal her own wounds.
That's right.
All
Yes.
that, all that nonsense that she's been fed, from religion, from
Society.
from society. Yeah, actually, a lot of religious beliefs are just societal beliefs that were coined to become a religious belief. So, um, beliefs that she isn't complete on her own without a partner. So then when she feels that, then she becomes a people pleaser. She becomes a pleaser for her partner instead of focusing on her own pleasure. She needs to believe, she needs to be in awe of the fact that her body is a vessel of pleasure.
I really
So
like that, Varine, when you said it's a vessel of pleasure, because it's, I think there's a lot of misconception and misunderstanding, especially on the side of women. As we already mentioned earlier, that their first responsibility, I will call it responsibility, is to actually have a child. But they forget that I I deserve to have pleasure and enjoy.
indeed. And if you look at how science, medical science has progressed, you would have thought that the answer to pleasure sits in that space, right? The body, healing, pleasure. But for some reason, medical science, OBGYN, has progressed to not include pleasure. It helps you make babies. It helps
Only.
exactly. You can have all kinds of babies, IVF babies. You can have, what do you call it, get your eggs out. You can do all of these things with medical science. But having an orgasm, an OBGYN does not know the details to it. They cannot tell you the best, the best sexual moves. They cannot help you get into the details and the nuances of relationships, which is why there are courses like ours that a lot of OBGYNs and therapists do to enhance their understanding of this whole process. So, med science developed without the concept of female pleasure, which is crazy. And it developed purely for the sake of making male children, making babies, making that whole process, reproduction, as effective as possible. So a male body is very efficient. Survival has given it the ability to have an orgasm, and semen will come out and you can all have babies. Like, it's very easy.
And that's it.
Yes.
No more, no less. That's it.
Yes.
Very linear,
Yes. There's a lot more to male pleasure, of course. They're discovering today as well. There's a lot more to just pleasure. You don't focus on the orgasm. There's so much more to the concept of pleasure. In the same way, women's pleasure is evolving in a huge way. Vibrators are, making a huge comeback. But again, I feel there's just so much pressure on the concept of orgasm. So much that we're just, focusing on only that. And pleasure is like, there's a goal to pleasure, which is the orgasm, as opposed to the journey and the experience of it.
That's right.
Which is a whole new space.
Yeah. And at the same time, most of the people, they only know about intercourse. Now I'm actually introducing to people that there are other course, not only intercourse.
Yes, I love that word. When I came across that in the reading, I love that word, other course, because it is the truth. You can't focus on just the genitals, because sexual connection is, first of all, connection. It is that intimacy. It is that drive with someone. Even if it's a one-night stand, there is an intimate connection that's taking place with someone. And if you feel like you can have a one-night stand without having intercourse, you can have other course.
Exactly.
It doesn't
Yes.
have to be.
Yes.
It really doesn't have to be that. So it's totally opened my perspectives on that concept. And you'll be surprised how, for a woman's body, for many women who struggle with actually asking for what they need, other course is most often what they need, as opposed to intercourse, because they're still working on adjusting their whole body, their vulva, to just being okay with sexual pleasure. Until they're okay with sexual pleasure, it's likely going to be pain. When it comes to sex, they won't be wet enough. They will have inhibitions. They will find excuses. I'm going to focus on the kitchen. I have this and that and all of that going on, because they feel that's more important than their own pleasure.
Yes. To cook, to do the laundry, to clean the house.
The kids, all of this stuff, like they feel guilty. I have to do all of this. What about your pleasure? What about your time? So that's why I coined this term, full body yes. It's very popular if you Google full body yes. And you'll probably also lead to the divine feminine movement.
I like that too.
Yes, it's a good one. And there's also divine masculine. So the concept of polarity between masculine and feminine is called the divine feminine and divine masculine polarity, which is a tantra-based attraction policy. A male and a female, both sexes, both bodies, have feminine and masculine energies. Feminine energy is the receiving, receptive, the listening energy. And the masculine energy is the doing, the active energy. So we have both. And in the last 10 years with wellness is considered a divine feminine action, because we're taking time to reflect. We're taking time to heal. We're taking time to listen. So it's a beautiful way of learning how to live your life. In Tantra, they call it the Shiva and the Shakti energy. The
I
Shiva
see.
energy is the energy of the hold, the capacity, and the Shakti energy, the creatrix energy, is the feminine energy. And everybody has these energies. Every man and woman is a creator by himself. He's also a container. But in the process of having sex, the concept of feminine and masculine polarity keeps interchanging between both partners.
With both
Up
male and
until,
female.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Or
With
male and male, or female and female. This can
Yes, that's
apply
right.
to
Of course.
all.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
No,
course,
it's
male
okay.
and
It's
male,
okay.
female and female. But
Yeah.
Bareen, now on behalf of my life mates, my listener, I can imagine them like, wow, too much information now. Where can they start to have that
Okay.
kind of full body? Yes. So, for example, now that after they listen to this podcast, so Arnie and Vareen, where do I start?
Okay. The first thing I would recommend you do, right? So when you're in a relationship with someone, um, ideally you are working towards relationship with someone when you're learning full body yes, because if you're going for a one night stand or a casual relationship, there's not a lot of time for feedback. And feedback is very, very important when it comes to understanding your full body yes. So that is one thing I would recommend, because then you'll just get frustrated. Like people who are in a casual sex relationship, maybe some of them are able to get feedback, but quite often it's, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and it's nice to see you.
And that's it. See you again next time, or maybe I don't see you again.
Exactly. There's an understanding. But when you're in a relationship, that's when you can start to explore the nuances of who you are, because the other person becomes a mirror for you. So what I would recommend is when you are about to have sex with someone, set time to do what's called a gazing practice. So sit naked with your partner in a cross-legged position, both of you. If you're not comfortable sitting completely naked, you can wear some lingerie, you can wear your
Something
underwear.
sexy.
Yes, you can. But the idea is that you sit and you just gaze at each other's bodies without thinking about orgasm, without leading to orgasm. You just gaze at each other's bodies. And as you gaze at each other's bodies, start to observe what is coming up for you. Are you feeling distracted by their bodies, or are you present with that person? Do you feel like you need to be somewhere else, or do you feel like you need to be here? Do you feel scrutinized? Does your body feel sexualized in that situation? Or does it feel loved? Does it feel very, very comfortable, fully accepted in that situation? Do you feel, like if someone's looking at your breasts or your vagina, does that make you feel uncomfortable, or does it make you feel desirable?
I
Like
like
stay
that.
present with everything that you're feeling. And you are focused on your feelings as opposed to the orgasm. And try and do that for just 15 minutes to start with. You're going to laugh. A lot of people laugh when they first
actually,
try it.
actually, Barin, with the questions that you asked, I was
Yeah.
thinking that what if the question is like, do you want not do you want to be somewhere else, but do you want to be with someone else?
Yeah. See, very important. Very, very important. Because if you actually want to be with someone else, then your body is not in a yes mode.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you're actually uncomfortable with that gazing activity, then your body is actually not in a yes mode. So it's opening up all these vulnerable walls vulnerable situations that you built walls over that you've never fully dealt with. So as you open those walls up, you're going to feel like you're melting. As you start to look into the depth of each one of these questions, you're going to feel like you're melting. But the question to ask is to set time after that activity. If you're turned on, have sex, fair enough. But after it's all over, set time to talk about what just happened. Set time to do that and build on it. So 15 minutes, later on, you can go up to 20 minutes. Later on, you can go up to 30 minutes. And you may find that you may not actually want to have intercourse. It's okay, because what you're going to develop is intimacy, a whole new depth of intimacy. And intimacy leads to a totally different sexual experience. Totally different sexual experience. It leads to a connection like no other.
Yes.
If
Yes.
after the 15 minutes, if all you want to do is just cuddle, just hold each other, that's also perfectly fine. You don't need any tools or any special, like, you just need a journal.
Yeah. Yeah. For this one is for those people with partners. How about the single ones, Varin?
You can
What
do
to
the
do?
same with a mirror.
I see.
You can do exactly the same with the mirror. This time you're gazing at yourself, you're gazing at your body, and you're asking yourself how you feel about your body, how you feel about someone touching this body, how you feel about someone gazing into your eyes, how you feel about your mouth. Just go, I call it like a full body scan. Start
Yes,
at the
that's
top of
right.
your
Yeah.
head. Yeah, actually, no, start with your feet. Start with your feet and then go all the way up, all the way up to your head. You can put some light music on when you do this. If you're by yourself, even with a partner, you can put some very, very light music on and just go with the flow. If the first time you do it, it's too much, it's making you laugh, just start with your feet, only your feet, your ankles,
And
and
then
take
that's
those
it.
notes and then carry on at a
Yeah.
later date. Yeah. It's important this doesn't become a pressurable activity, because we all know what happens when when we start putting pressure on ourselves. No, no, no. It's about you developing an intimate relationship with everything that isn't fully healed in your body and all that is trying to tell you.
Now the question, what if
Yes.
during this activity, what if they feel negative that, oh, I don't like this, or I don't like that, oh, why is like this, why is like that? Like most women, they are very, very conscious about, I think even men now are very conscious about the stomach. It's not six pack, or women, it's not flat, things like that. Not to, and then maybe I will have a follow up with the genitals, that probably the others like, especially for men, it's small, it's not that big. How come people? I said size doesn't matter. So, so, so
True.
what happens? What do you suggest for them, or what should they do once they have that kind of negativity?
If you're with a partner, talk about it. So take notes of all of that and definitely talk about it in the me time, in the follow-up session that you have. If you're by yourself, I recommend you send gratitude to every part of your body as you're progressing. So at your feet, before you go to the next part of your body, send gratitude. Think of one thing that body part does for you that makes you feel grateful. Right? So we shift the energy from that point itself. And if negativity is something that you need to accept. If there is something that you are feeling bad about, accept, yes, I am feeling bad about it. That's the first step always to dealing with that issue. So send
Acknowledge that.
gratitude. Acknowledge, yes, acknowledge it. So send gratitude. Let's say you're not comfortable with your breasts. We know that it is a center of pleasure. It can give us an orgasm. You have, and it is considered desirable. So keep thinking of things that you can relate to that body part that makes you feel gratitude for it. Doesn't mean doesn't mean you're ignoring what is uncomfortable for you about it, but you're sending gratitude, you're raising your vibration, and you're going to deal with that issue separately. You're going to read about it, you're going to feel, the word is, you want to be at ease with whatever it is that you feel negative about. The word is not overcome it and pretend it's never going to happen again.
That's
You
right.
want to feel at ease with that situation. And you're going to, and the other thing that really works with women is community. So if you have friends around you, if you have people around you who are going through a very similar thing, just talking about it, just one little word that you say, I'm not happy about my boobs. I hold something called a woman's circle. And in a woman's circle, we talk about our bodies. We talk about the fact that it's crazy to have those ideals that you see on social media and all of that.
Yeah, tell me
All
about
of that
it.
nonsense.
Yeah.
ridiculous. So we talk about the fact that we're real women, and no one has that perfection that Photoshop gives you. And when you talk about it, like just one word that comes out about it, it shifts the paradigm. It really shifts the paradigm. In fact, I've noticed this talking, even when people have really strange kinks. Like, let's say, when you look at your partner and you are like super excited by his nipples, but you're afraid to to go there. You know what I mean? Like super excited, like,
Yes.
yeah, this is really like it's happening to me. I don't know why. I don't know why. When you can say to your partner, it suddenly has an expression, it has an outlet, and that kink almost becomes something that you're at ease with. It doesn't become it has the ability to undo the that compulsive feeling of I have to touch it, to become something that is, yeah, it's there. I can go to it when I want to.
Nice. I see. Okay. So after that, I
Mm.
know we don't have that much time. So
Okay.
after that gazing, Vareen, like, okay, with the partner or alone with the mirror, what's next after that? How can they develop further?
Okay. Honestly, if you can do this and you can do it longer and longer every day, and you can do it across your body, let's say you've done it twice over your body, that in itself is huge. Your relationship with your body, your self intimacy will transform. Your sense of self confidence, so much will change. I won't even be surprised if you start your own podcast or your own, like, empowerment thing. Because
And talk
it,
about it.
yeah, exactly. It is like, it feels like you suddenly own your body. Before looking at yourself, if you've never seen yourself naked, you are disconnected from your body. You are like, I mean, you can never see our back, right? But when you touch your back, it totally shifts your relationship with your back. When you touch your belly, oh, that's another thing we can add, actually, just talking out loud now, after sending gratitude, touch that part of your body like you would touch someone else. The
Ah,
feeling of touch and love, just touch
yes.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of difference. So when we touch, sorry, coming back to what happens after that.
Yes.
So the sense of empowerment that you feel will in itself be life changing. It'll be like you enter a whole new dimension. So at that point, I encourage you to try a different way of expressing your relationship. You probably would already be there. Let's say you're with your partner, and he knows everything about you now.
Yeah.
Literally all your fears, all your doubts. He knows everything about you, and you know everything about him. Sex will never be the same. You want to get into deeper and deeper depths, and you'll be using sex as a tool of self pleasure more than his pleasure. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's a
You're
it's a
responsible
very
for your
different
own
relationship.
pleasure. You
Exactly.
don't depend on someone else.
Exactly. Yes.
Nice.
So the dynamics that you will have with yourself will completely shift. It's like, I almost feel like there's not much else you can do, because your own body will guide you. What do you want next? Your sense of communication will change. You will feel, yeah, like the word is, you feel divine, the divine feminine. The body is the root to your divinity. It's in religion, we've been taught otherwise.
I'm
The
sure.
body pleasures are not,
I'm
no,
sure.
but with the concept of divine feminine and masculine, tantra, shiva shakti, the body is the root to the divine. The more we can respect, love, understand our body, the more we connect with the grace that has created us.
Lovely. Ah, very nice. But when you first discovered this, Vareen, what is your reaction, or
Sure.
how did you adapt to that new knowledge of, wow, loving myself, loving my body?
How did I adapt? I was shocked. I had never seen it in that way, but how my body reacted to it, how much it shifted. Like, I think the way I was brought up was trauma, that that I call it the stiffness that I was in. I was in
The
trauma.
corporate life.
Yes, the corporate body that I had, it was a traumatic stress that was in my body. And the way my body took on divine feminine, like it just transformed. I was able to have no pain when it came to sexual activity. I was suffering with vaginismus.
Yes.
I was able to breathe. I went breathe during sex. Like that's so important for women as well. Breathing during sex, because then you connect to deeper and deeper layers within you. So much easier to orgasm as well when you breathe. I realized I wasn't breathing when I was having sex in the past. Even when I masturbate, it's like just not breathing.
You're running out of breath, and it's like, what's happening?
Yes, because you're anticipating the orgasm. Oh, and
Instead
then
of enjoying the moment.
yes, exactly. So, I mean, it was so easy for my body to accept it that my brain had to follow. Like, I don't understand a lot of the science behind it initially. There's many more books that I've read along the way. And it didn't need for me to understand the science behind it, because it worked. Wow. It was, I think what happened was I made my relationship with my body sacred. And that doesn't mean that I started to, there was no guilt and shame anymore. I realized that what is sacred is full acceptance of who I am, my whole body, the way it is, every experience I've had in my life, every pain, every pleasure is who I am. And that was totally life-changing. But it's a journey.
Oh, yes, of course. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
Life mates, it doesn't happen overnight. We're not telling you that you do it tonight. Tomorrow you will be like, wow, you have that kind of divine femininity. It's not like that. It's a journey. And just like what Varin said, it's a journey. It takes like one at a time. It will not just like 5 minutes and then you're done and then you're beautifully inside and out.
No. There's a book I recommend women to read called Womb Wisdom. I can't remember the name of the author, but I think the surname is Prakasha.
Wow,
Womb
wisdom.
Wisdom. I think it's Aeon Prakasha, but the surname is definitely Prakash, Prakasha. So it's a great starter into the concept of divine feminine, the body, the period cycle, the sacredness of your womb, and it doesn't mean that you are not, that there's any issue with having multiple partners. But what it does is it transforms you from looking at sex as a tool for pleasure to the fact that you are pleasure.
And you deserve to have pleasure.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's like, instead of putting it out there as a tool, it just is. You are pleasure. You deserve it. You're here for that.
Okay. Anything else that we need to add, Varin, to full body yes? Because probably the listener says, oh, so it's all about sex? That's it? Is it all about the body? What else is there?
Oh, it's not, this is not sex, right? This is the body.
Yes.
The body is a vessel of pleasure. So if you look at the body as sex, right, it makes the whole thing very small. But if you look at the body as this route to intimacy, this route to deeper relationships, that is what the divine feminine is. So I watched this movie yesterday where there was this gangster woman who she was a prostitute. She'd been led into prostitution. Cut a long story short, she moves away from that, and then she starts to date this one guy. And all, like, he's like, trying it on with her. He really likes her. He honestly likes her, but he's very new to the concept of sex. So he's like slowly trying it out with her. And then she's like, just stop all that. And she takes his hand and she puts it on her head. And she said, just stroke my head. Just stroke my forehead. Like, this is all I need, actually. It's not the sex or the orgasm. What I need from you is my partner after everything. Like, she must have had so much sex in her life, right? So all I need is for someone to stroke my face. That's all I need. That was powerful. Like, this woman became a very powerful leader. She transformed the life of many prostitutes in the process of recovering her self-worth. So that is what all this is about. It's about knowing what you actually need, because most of us don't need sex. Sex becomes it's the way we feel we need to express ourselves. But if you take that minute where you sit down and you look at your partner, you look at yourself, you accept yourself, then you begin to communicate with your body. It may not be sex that you want. You're looking for intimacy.
That's
You're
right.
looking for communication. You're looking for someone to just stroke your vagina for 30 minutes and not orgasm.
That's right. Yeah.
You're looking for, it's all of this stuff that, people say you run out of things to do when you're married. Married sex is boring. That means you haven't explored intimacy. There's so much to it.
I can imagine. But the problem, you see, Varin, a lot of women, they don't express. They are not, maybe it's better to say that they are not allowed to express. And there will be like slut shaming, that why are you like that? Who are you? You're not supposed to talk about it. You are not supposed to express your sexuality as much as men. So what's your advice for these women? Or probably what can you say about these women who cannot express themselves authentically and sexually?
I would say start small. Start with a little journal on your own. Open a journal and start to write on there what you really want to tell the world. When you get those thoughts out of your system and you start to, when you put everything out on a piece of paper, what you're thinking about starts to shift because you're giving it some expression. If you can talk, that's one. If you can talk to a very close friend about it, that's another. If you're a mother and you have suffered from the inability of talking about sexual expression, do it with your family. Make sure that the future generation that you're raising doesn't experience that, and that sense of empowerment that a mother gets, I believe, from what I've seen when they raise a child to overcome their sexuality, heals them as well. So it doesn't mean that if you are 50 and you've had children, that your sexual journey is over. No. Your relationship with your body will continue forever and ever and ever.
Actually, Barin, that's another topic. You see, a lot of women, they will always say, "Oh, I'm old for that." Oh, no. I said, no one is old when it comes. So what can you say to these women who are, no, I'm already old. I'm 50. I'm 60. Oh, I'm retired. I don't have time for that.
Get on a dating app. It's true. I remember seeing this one video, I think, of an 84-year-old woman on a dating app in New York, and she's dating guys in their 60s because there are no more men in their 80s. So, at that it doesn't make much of a difference. She's actually a yoga teacher.
Oh, wow.
At 84, she's a yoga teacher.
Oh, wow. No, because a lot of old women, I won't say old, but I mean those mature women out there, once they reach the others, even at the young age of 40s, they already stop thinking about it. I said, why do you stop thinking about it?
Yes.
It's a part of who you are.
It is a really, really good point, actually. There was this one woman who came on my Clubhouse chat, and she's in her 50s, and her son has just got married to this woman. And she said after she had a child, sex went down the drain for her. Like, it was really very, very, everything had to be very fast because she had to look after her kids. And she never enjoyed sex in the same way again because her body had changed. There was no time to talk about it. And what she's doing now is she's telling her son to be mindful of the sexual relationship between him and his wife, like to make sure that they do not deprioritize sex. And she says that she feels sad that her sexual relationship became that way after she got married. She did not try to fix it because she thought it's, pleasure is not her birthright. She thought all these responsibilities were, but she now feels she shouldn't have been that way because it led her to resentment.
Oh, that's sad. I hope that she go out there and talk to women and men, children. Oh,
Yes.
that would be a powerful message.
Absolutely. So she's healing. And the fact that she can tell her son, talk about the whole concept of sex to her son and better relationship between her daughter-in-law and her son to me is one massive step for a woman who has ignored pleasure in her life.
Totally agree. Massive step. I just remember when you mentioned about this woman. I also remember, I also hear a lot of women who always say, like, no, 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 I don't have time for that. Although they are still in a relationship, they are married. The others are like, they've been just like probably a month ago, I talked to this woman, and then the others like that. She's been married for, I think, more than 10 years. And I said, no, Arnie, it's okay. Do you really believe these women when they say, yes, it's okay?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I
because I
don't.
told her too. I said, I don't believe you.
No, I absolutely don't, because if you don't make time for pleasure, right, your body can masturbate. You can masturbate. I know people in their 70s who are totally retired and they've nothing else to do, so they're having sex 3 times a day. Doesn't mean they're orgasming, but they're certainly being intimate 3 times a day. So your body desires intimacy all the way through. I feel bad for elderly people who, just because they are wrinkled and all of that, there are many people who become scared of touching them, and
Mm.
all they need actually is touch. It transforms their life. I don't know whether you read this article. I saw it online where was it in our course, where people in care homes, um,
Oh, yes, yes,
people in
yes.
care homes in their 60s, that the rate of STDs were rising for people in their 60s because they're having the time of their life.
Can you imagine you didn't have it when you were young and now you're 60s and then suddenly, wow, I have STI or STD.
Yeah, STI. That's exactly it. Yeah,
Oh my
because
goodness.
they don't even talk at that time. They didn't talk about condoms, so they're like, "What is this stuff? I've never used it." So now, because they're reopening their sex lives, they are like relearning the concept of sex ed, and they're discovering that pleasure is not over. I'm still attracted to people.
That's right. Yes, yes. And as I've learned, our need for intimacy and touch and love, it never ends. Even if you're like 105, you're 98, you're retired, you're not working. I think the need for intimacy, touch, and love will always be there. I think the others, they're just rejecting the idea because of all the things that they've learned since they were young.
Conditioning, yeah.
Yeah, the
It
conditioning.
is. It is. And also because, I mean, I go back to the story of that woman who came in my room that spoke about the fact that sex became really difficult and not pleasurable after she had a child. If all the while they've been having sex that's not pleasurable, they won't want it.
That's right.
If it means pain, if it means discomfort, if it means that they are not able to voice what they want, then they won't want it. It becomes a chore.
Would you encourage a woman who says, like, they come to you and they're like, Varin, I don't like my body. I hate my body.
Yeah. First of all, I'll check their age. I notice that we are
Does
more
it mean
accepting of our bodies as we get older, and the ones that are younger, right? Especially teens and those in their 20s, they really obsess about the way they look and their body. My message to young women is that you have to look at your body and know that what you're looking at isn't what a guy is looking at, because at that age it's all about the whole who's going to marry me, who's going to, like, that whole concept of managing the attention that comes to you, or the no attention that comes to you, is to look at your body and look at it from the point of view of a guy. Because when I say look at the point of view of a guy, is that actually men don't want, they're not looking for what a woman thinks they're looking for half the time. So it's really important for you to focus on what you want from your body, because what a guy wants is actually very simple. They're not obsessed with their body the way you are. So look at your body and focus on what you want from your body. If you feel like something isn't quite right, accept that, acknowledge it, the same process, and gratitude, and slowly become at ease with it. make sure you're not working yourself out because you want a body that a guy will desire. Make sure you're not doing anything that is focused around what a man desires from you, because when it comes down to it, you'll be surprised at what those expectations are not.
Totally different.
Totally different. Yes. Men are very simple when it comes to a woman's body. Yeah, when a woman.
I can agree on that. Varin, again, because we're having very interesting conversation here, I just remember. So all these things that we already discussed, does it apply also to men? Will you also say
Yes.
the same thing to men when it comes to their relationship with their body?
I haven't really worked with many men, but with men, I feel like they have a lot of sexual confidence issues as well. You know, when it comes to size is the biggest one,
Yes.
and and it's not just, you know, the size of their penis; it's the size of their body, it's the size of their arms, it's the size of their biceps, and all of this other stuff. Again, when a woman is, you know, when you're actually having sex with a woman, um, what is happening during that sexual activity is intimacy. A lot of us are not even looking at someone's body anymore when we're in that space. So confidence comes from him listening to her needs. It's not the same as like him thinking she is looking at him and she's judging him. Everything comes down to him listening and being able to fulfill her physical needs as opposed to her visual needs.
I like that.
And that for that, size doesn't matter. Like, you know, the size of your penis doesn't mean that somebody's going to orgasm. Today there's so many tools. I mean, there are women that I know that prefer to use vibrators.
Yeah, that's right. They said.
Yeah, it becomes the third party in sex, and it's okay. It's totally okay. It's probably much better.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't like the size, then buy a dildo that's bigger than your partner's penis, and it's all right.
Exactly, and then you have a very exciting sex life, and then maybe a guy who's just focused on only his penis in you all the time. It becomes really boring. So you've got to get into variety, and you've got to be able to communicate your needs. It's not about size, it's not about body, it's about intimacy.
That's right. From a very young age, I always hear it's not the size, it's the performance that counts.
It is 100% true. In my experience, it's 100% true.
Varin, I on behalf of the listeners, and I call them life mates, I can imagine that they're asking themselves, how can I be confident just like Varin? How can I be with that kind? Yeah.
Varin has had a journey. It hasn't just happened overnight. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that it is a journey. It's the first thing is to know that no one is born with unbelievable sexual confidence. It comes with a sense of self-worth. It comes with knowing that part of life is learning about sex. I have so much to learn yet. I have so much that I want to tell my partner to change or to try. It's never ending. And that's the key to it. You know, like we see a lot of romantic stories that end with marriage. You don't know what the hell happens after that. But it's just
that's right. That's right.
That is really when things start. You know, there's no end to how deep you can go with your body, your physicality. You know, just like touching ears for some people is so erogenous, and it builds this huge like connection with someone.
Varin, actually, a lot of women, you know, I actually started doing some free workshops online about sexuality.
Wonderful.
And most of my participants are women. You know, a lot of them, they didn't even have that experience of looking at their genital.
Yes, that's a big one. That's a very big one. Very important for you to have a mirror, have a look, and if you can, draw it.
Yes, I asked them, if I'm going to have like 5 photos of vulva or vagina, let's say, because a lot of people, they call it vagina instead of the vulva, the outer part of the female genitals. I said, if I'm
Mhm.
going to put 5 photos here, will you even identify which one is yours?
Yes,
You
that's
know
a
most
very
of the answers, Varin? No. I said, oh my gosh. You don't even know which one is yours. And then to think it's part of your body. And do you think it's there for nothing?
Mm.
So,
There's this. Have you heard of Betty Dodd? Right, I think she was spoken about in our. She's the woman that did all those drawings of vaginas, and she
oh,
kind of
yes.
she created different types of this, like the gothic vagina, and there's like all this, sorry, vulva, the gothic
Yeah.
vulva design. And so I went, my first Shah conference was with Carlin Ross, who has taken over the work of Betty Dodd because she was 90 and she passed away. And in that workshop, there were like maybe 30 women who all were like talking about the fact that they hadn't had never seen their own vulva. They use a mirror. They had never put their own finger in to explore inside the muscles and what it feels like and their needs, because they just never thought they needed to. But until they did, they discovered so much. In some cases, is pain. In some cases, it's like, oh my God, I had no idea that it is so hot in there. Or, oh my God, I didn't know that, it's so tight in there. Like, there's so many things that they start to learn about themselves. And actually that is the biggest sign of massive conditioning, is when a woman hasn't explored her
Yes.
vagina, not vulva, the
Yeah.
vagina with her own fingers.
That's right.
Suppression. Yeah.
Yes. Vareen, I have the standard questions to my guests. But before I ask it, this one just came. I'm actually enjoying this conversation. One last, no, because I think I can speak especially for Asian context, that once you lose your virginity, some women somehow they feel like, oh, the self worth is different now, and I can sense that a lot of women, again in Asian context, at least I can't speak for the Western people, but at least in an Asian context, a lot of women experience that they already degrade themselves, if I can use that word, or some of them's like their self-worth already like on a very low level once they lose their virginity. What's your take on that, Parin?
Yeah. There's a video I did on this. It's on my Instagram and also on TikTok. It's also on my Facebook, actually, my other
Oh,
page. I'll send it to you. So I'm not sure I'm sure this was in the Shah literature as well. But what I discovered, right, is that all this thing about the hymen
yes.
tearing when you have
You have to
sex, it's a
bleed if it's
myth.
your first time. The myth.
Yeah, yeah. It's a myth. It does not happen. Bleeding during first time sex is a myth. You only bleed if you're not wet enough. The hymen doesn't tear, or it doesn't break,
Yes.
because it doesn't cover the whole freaking vagina. Otherwise, how do you menstruate?
That's right.
So,
For others, they I think they imagine it's like a
cool.
door. So if it's a door and it's once already broken, so what happens now?
Exactly. Exactly. And come on, let's think about it. So does that mean when a guy's penis goes inside you, oh, it's in, it's in, oh, my self-worth is reducing, oh, it's in, oh, my self-worth, like, how is that happening? Like, think about it. Has anything actually changed? No, nothing has changed. So this whole thing about virginity is a construct. It's not a natural thing. It's purely a construct. And the only way out of this is education. Education. We have to continuously talk about the nonsense that is virginity. First time sex is not about de-virginizing yourself. It is just first time
First
sex.
sex. That's
Let's
right.
just forget about that concept of virginity.
But you
Yeah.
see in Asia, but you see, Barin, in Asia, I don't know
Religion.
in
Yes.
Malaysia, yeah. Aside
Yes.
from the religion, we don't have enough educators that can actually teach sexuality without biases or
Yes.
without those kind of construct that they themselves, they don't know, and then they're teaching. I remember, I just share, Doreen, I have one student who's 18 years old in high school, and then because she knows that I'm into sexuality coaching and consulting, and she said, teacher, our teacher who's teaching sex or sex education at school, we asked something like oral sex. I can't remember the actual subject of the topic. And it's like the teacher like responded or reacted in a very negative way. It's like the yuck. And I said, and my student said, teacher, it's not supposed to be like that, right? They are supposed to explain it to us, but in a neutral way. Can you imagine an 18-year-old woman telling me like this, and then the educator's like, I said, oh my.
Oh, there's so many like that. It's again, it's coming from their own biases, which is why I love the SAR that tests your own biases, that makes you think about where you are holding judgment, because it's a constant journey. You have to keep unlearning to learn.
That's right.
I
And
feel
don't
sorry.
yuck my yum, and I will not yuck your yum.
So important. Yeah, don't yuck my yum. Do not yuck anyone's yum.
That's right.
We live, yeah, we all have enough space to be who we are in this world.
Yes. Much as I don't want to end this conversation, Barin, but the time has come to ask me some more interesting questions that I always ask my guests. And the first question is, with all your experiences and the background, all the things that you've studied in your life, what do you consider the greatest lesson that you've learned?
Is expressing myself. There hasn't been a greater freedom than expressing myself from my heart, and not from here, and not from what anyone else says, but how I feel. I think it's the greatest. Like, I think I grew up thinking I could never express anything, and now I just express and express and express, and it is so empowering.
But when did you start really expressing yourself intentionally, authentically? Oh,
after my marriage didn't quite work out for the best. Like, it has totally transformed my life, and it's yeah. I mean, even wanting to do that was a sense of empowerment, because I didn't know what was on the other side. And he's only been magic on the other side. You think that after a divorce, life is over and all of that crap.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
It's so good on the other side.
Oh, wow. I hope the women listening to us now, right now will get some encouragement out of that, because some people, or some women, if I may say, after divorce, they feel like it's the end of the world. No one will love me anymore.
I know so many people who are divorced, right? The global divorce rate is 40%. That means almost 1 in 2 marriages will end in divorce. And then the second divorce that people have, let's say you remarry, and second divorce is even higher, is 60%. So because I guess you get used to the fact that, anyway, we won't get into that, but almost 1 in 2 marriages fail. So today there is a whole market of people that continue to date all the way into their old age, because they are redefining the concept of relationship. We have been taught that a relationship is this box.
That's right.
It can be something else completely that aligns with who you are.
Who you truly are. Yes. Varin, what decision, a huge decision, probably I should say, that you made in the past and still has an impact of who you are at the moment?
I think probably also, it's probably leaving corporate life. Leaving that full-time job, to become my own entrepreneur, to, learn from educating myself and from educating others. This is very natural to me. I did not know I'd be able to do it, but, there's so many courses and things out there that teach you how to monetize, I've learned. So it's getting better. Sometimes it's challenging, but I'm amazed at the fact that I can live my life the way I am, and earn from it. my truth, not having to rely on a full-time job and all that stiffness that it creates in my body. Oh
Eight
my
to
God,
five.
who was that? Exactly.
I can totally relate to that because I also work independently, a freelance consultant. So I can
Yeah,
totally relate to that.
yeah.
And a final, I'm sure in the near future you need to write a book, Vareen, with all these
Oh,
experiences. I
so
totally believe I've written one book. It's about public
wow.
speaking. Yes.
Oh,
And when we
nice.
meet, I'll give you one copy or I can send it to Malaysia. It's called You Can Be a Champion Too.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
You're inspiring me. I'd love to write a book.
Bareen,
Oh,
write a book with everything.
yeah.
I know there is so much more that you can share to this world. And I know a lot of people can learn from you. So if you or someone else is going to write a book about your life, what kind of book will it be and what will be the name?
I think the name will be a priestess's journey.
Nice. And what's going to be all about?
It's going to be how I learned to make the relationship with myself my sacred journey in this world, instead of everything else that I thought was sacred. The very concept of sacred is me. I am sacred.
Nice.
I matter. My thoughts matter. And how it's something that continues to happen every day, rediscovering myself, loving myself, knowing that every little part of me, every pain, every story is divine.
And we never stop discovering something about ourselves. I think each day you discover something.
Yes, each day we do discover something. Oh, you're really making me think now.
Bareen,
Oh.
write a book. No, write a book. I'm
I
telling you, it's
will.
like because for me, I wrote that in 2018. The
Oh,
book. Yeah, I've been
wow.
thinking about because I read a lot of books just like you.
Yes.
I love reading so much. And then I said one day I just want to see like a book that my name is on it, that I wrote the book, that I'm the author. And then one day it was during the before I think the height of the pandemic. I was able to write. Actually, I finished almost everything. And then one day it just like came to me, it's like, no, this is not what I like. I threw everything and started again and I finished in 1 week.
Really? That's amazing.
It's like once you have that, I think, Vareen, once you have the total flow for like what you really want to share out there, I think you can just do
Yeah.
it. Just like my guest last week in my podcast from Denmark, depressed for a very, very long time. And then she came out of that dark and very deep hole to be happy. She was able to write a book less than 6 months. And she was surprised about herself. It's like, Arnie, I'm telling you, I just learned, I got it from the website, how to write a book. And all of a sudden, I was able to finish it less than 6 months. And out there, the book. Yes.
Wow. I'm going to do it, Arnie.
Yes. But
Today. I'm going to
no,
set
but
this target.
actually, the school of writing a book will tell you that if you can write at least 250 words a day, you can finish it within 6 months.
Damn. Okay. I'll do that. 250 words. That's not difficult, I
Yes,
think.
but don't
How,
edit.
how, how many pages is your book?
100 something. It's more of a journal. It's
Nice.
about public speaking because I'm
It's
sharing
a
my
huge thing
experience.
now. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's out there in Amazon. Varine, I'm telling you, I don't want to say the pride, but the joy of saying that I wrote a book.
Mm.
Oh my. And you see the copy of your book and your name is there. So
Thank you,
amazing. So
Arnie. You've given
awesome.
me a whole new goal. Yippee, yippee.
Yeah, Varine, with all this, no, I can imagine that you can share a lot to the people out there to learn more on loving themselves and expressing who they are, to become more intentional, authentic, and at the same time with pleasure of what the world can offer and what they can offer to the world.
Thank you. I love that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. In fact, I'm gonna kill it.
Yes, this is recorded, Barine. So I have a proof that you said I'm
Okay.
going to do it. So I'm sure you can do it. I'm sure. And as I said again and again and again, there is so much that you can write that people can actually benefit from. So do it.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. As the more I talk about this, the more I'm like, something new is birthing. Yay!
Yes, just say it and say it and say it that you're going to write a book. And
I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna write a book.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. Once again, Varin, I can't thank you enough for sharing. Oh, it's something that I'm sure a lot of people will be excited and can learn a lot from this episode. So once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And one day we're going to meet and we're going to
We
talk about,
are.
yes,
We are.
we're very
Absolutely.
near Malaysia and Thailand.
Yes.
One day, one day.
One day. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Arnie. I feel
Thank you
so
so much.
so enjoy at the moment. With
Yeah, you made my day.
Thank you. You too.
Yes, thank you
My
so
week.
much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
to all my life mates, I'm sure you've learned a lot from this episode. And please do not keep it to yourself. Share it to your families and friends because we all need to learn something. And always, again and again, I remind you learning without action is information, but learning with action is transformation. You have the ability to develop, evolve, and transform yourself into a better you. Once again, listen and learn.